We're here to serve. Just because they signed a contract does not mean that's the only thing they're willing to do. It just means it's the one thing they're willing to do. But they might be open. Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a seven-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Sales Made Simple podcast. I have Jon Valenta back on with me here. What's going on, Jon?
Hey, Joshua. Great to be back.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. Today, we're going to talk about something that I believe is one of the best held secrets for making more money in your business without spending another dollar. It's one of the things that I learned the hard way because I thought that sales was like in a silo, meaning that one person did it and everybody else around just kind of did the field work or were admins or whatever. But, like I was the guy. I'm the sales guy. So I have the skills. I go out and get trained. I read the books and everybody just kind of follows behind me. Like that was the thinking. That's what I was taught. That's what I saw in the world. And what I learned doing almost 30 years now of doing outdoor living spaces, hardscaping and landscaping is that is absolute BS. And I mean, old belief system, right? It's not a good way to do that because here's what I learned. I learned that when you empower your team, whether they're field guys, whether they're the girls in the office, whether they're the guys driving the trucks, when you empower them with being able to ask good questions, and to be aware and to listen to customers, they become your secret sales force, really. Because think about it. Who's on site more, the salesperson or the field guys? Think about it, listeners. Who's on site more? Usually the sales guys come in, they sell, they move on to the next project. Or if you're the owner and you're the salesperson, you got your guys out working. And when I think about time in general, the people that spend the most time with your customers are your field people. Are your field people equipped? Are they trained? Are they capable of hearing opportunities when your customer comes home late from work one afternoon and says, you know what, I really wish that I would have thought about putting a water feature over in that corner. I just saw one at a friend's house and I really wish I had thought about it. And then they walk in the house. What does your field team do with that? Do they got their earbuds in, thinking about the next Red Bull they're going to drink and trying to finish up before the rain comes? Or are they slowing it down and saying, wait, hold on. Sam, did you hear her? She just said she wanted the water feature. This is how, the boss told us about a protocol and how we bring that back to the sales guy. Here's the 3 steps we do in order to make sure the sales guy gets that information so that he can call her and talk to her about this and to see if she wants to add that. So listeners, I'm going to challenge you this week. Jon and I are going to challenge you this week to thinking about your entire team as salespeople, not just one person. It's not siloed in one specific job title. This is everybody across the entire company has the opportunity to have the eyes and the ears and the capability of helping customers, serving them, not manipulating them, serving them by being good listeners so they can turn those ideas, those thoughts, those passing comments into real revenue. What do you think, Jon?
I think it's, a huge opportunity in our industry to add to the existing sale. The crew on the job are the ones there every day building trust with the homeowners. I mean, so many homeowners are home now, people working from home or not working the same hours as we do. We get to the job at 7 and they don't have to be at work until 9. We see them every morning. We're there every day at the same time. We're leaving the job site clean every day. We're building trust. Every day that goes by that we're there, we're building more trust and they're seeing us every day, but they're not seeing me. I'm there. I sell the job, but then I pass it off to my team. I introduce the homeowners to my foreman and my crew, and then they're there every day. So when the homeowners, like you said, thinking about adding a water feature, or sometimes in our case, it's like, oh, you're doing this job in the front. And well, now I want to do something in the back, or I want to add low voltage lighting, or you know what, we're having this drainage problem over here, while you're here. And the guys could just have their earbuds in and their head down and just grind and get the job done. Or they could be like, hey, wait a minute, we can do this. And, whether they, have to reach back out to me or or they're trained to just take care of it and clock in on their app and track the time for the extra work they're doing, or reach out to me and get an idea what it's going to cost. But if they have their eyes open and they're thinking, or even could be the other way around, if they happen to notice something and they just feel comfortable reaching out to the homeowner and say, hey, I think maybe we should do this or add this over here, that's an opportunity. And you could add a lot more sales with your existing client without having to mobilize more equipment or move to the next job. You're already there. So it's a huge opportunity to increase sales with your existing client on the same job, and definitely add a lot to your bottom line.
Well, I got to pause you there, John, because you know what? This whole thing could be an absolute nightmare. Think about it. If I know back when I was running crews and I would just give carte blanche to the guys in the field to get creative, it costs me money. Often it costs me money. I walk out and I'm like, what the heck are you doing? Well, we decided instead of going in this side of the property, we'd go across the sidewalk, and we broke it. I'm sorry. And then we came in this way because it'd be easier for us. Or you know what? We just dumped all the dirt on the street because you know what? That was simpler for us. And we didn't know that there was supposed to be like 28 inches of rain coming from that storm and wash most of it away. And you know what? We talked to Mrs. Jones. She said she didn't really want those arbs. So we just decided not to do them. Like, we can't give a team that has no protocol in place or no training in place that kind of leverage or freedom, because it will cost you money. There must be some form of a communication circuit or some step-by-step process that the field knows. We always talk about change orders, right? Nothing gets the price is the price unless you change it with a change order, and then they're signed change orders and they get paid right away. So there's no surprises for the customer later. Like, yeah, we'll take care of it. And then all of a sudden it's $5,000 more. And you're like, I didn't know you were charging me for that stuff. And then you got a client that's pissed off. That's why change orders are important. But here, this is what I'm trying to get to. When it comes to working with, having your field team become salespeople, if you will, or at least sales-minded, there needs to be a step-by-step process. If they hear Mrs. Jones, I'll go back to my example there about the water feature, or your example of, hey, we're doing stuff in the front, let's do something in the back. We must make sure that even if our field team's listening, that they say, okay, step one in listening is collect. Write it down. Step 2 is to call the sales guy and explain what Mrs. Jones just said, or what a passing comment would be. Step 3 is to put a proposal together, a change order, and step 4 is for that salesperson to then present it to the homeowner. Say, hey, you know what? The guys were listening. Are you interested? Or even the sales guy reach out and said, you know what? One of the guys mentioned that you were looking for that water feature. Do you want us to give you a proposal for this? And we're here. We could make that work for you and find out what he or she says. But there needs to be a protocol. If we just let these guys go in the field, they're going to get creative. And oh my goodness, does creativity cost money? As you know, right? And it's like, yeah, we're just going to add 4 more lights and then just go to the local distributor, buy these lights and plug them in. The transformer is not big enough for these lights. And now all of a sudden we've got other problems because they were trying to be helpful. So there must be a protocol, and it must go back to the main person that's in charge of managing and selling the project. It must go through that portal. When you do it that way, it's a beautiful way to add extra revenue. But if you don't, holy crap, listeners, you will have yourself a dumpster fire of chaos. So John, how do you guys manage that in the field? If one of your guys were to see an opportunity, what do they do?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more about, the process and not just letting things go wild. For us, we're a very small, tight team. We have one crew doing typically one job at a time. And we don't travel too far. I'm not, always running out to the job when there's an issue. But if something does come up and I get a phone call, I can either go out there if I need to, or reach out to the homeowner, phone, text, email, whatever they prefer. Depends on the scope of the additional work. But typically in that case, my foreman would give me a call, say, hey, they're looking to do this, we can jump on it right away, and I'll get on it because I'm typically available.
Yeah, that's good. But you wouldn't want them just to give them like the paintbrushes and say, draw me something, right? Or paint me something. That might be a little bit crazy.
I do like giving them freedom and not being
Mhm.
always telling them what to do. And especially when there's maybe not adding to the sale, but something unexpected comes up. We work outside. We
Mhm.
start digging. We never know what we're going to find. We start demo. Who knows what's going to be underneath it? And things come up and challenges come up. And the more you can train your team to address those challenges without just saying, "Oh, well, we've got to call the boss. We don't
Yeah.
know what to do here. This isn't in our instructions. We found something and we just got to call the boss." And what if the boss is on vacation or at a sales meeting or anything?
Yep.
So training them to not saying you can't call me, but saying before you call me, think of a solution yourself. And then when you call me, you can say, we found this came up, and this is how we think we should take care of it. Then you have the opportunity to say, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Or, well, maybe we should do this. But at least you're getting them
Yep.
to think and training them to be able to take care of issues without the first thing they do. Let's just call the boss.
Yep. I mean, I've sat with so many men knee to knee talking about this exact situation where they are the kind of the top of the food chain. Everything comes to them. Every crew, everybody calls that person the boss. They get the final decision. And here's what happens: the boss burns out. Right? The boss is just so overwhelmed with trying to run a company, trying to not just pay bills and payroll and all that stuff, but then to answer all these questions and to make the right decisions, constantly shooting off the hip, trying to figure this out. If they would empower their team, this is typically the response that we work through is, how could you empower your team to get to a point, right, to John's point here, of not just bringing you a problem, but giving you 3 opportunities or 3 solutions that they think as they work together they could bring you. Say, hey, boss, look, we got a problem. We hit an irrigation line here on site, water running all over the place. Instead of the what should we do? And you're like, crap, I'm 45 minutes away. The homeowner's not home. There's water running everywhere. What are we going to do? Like, instead of that, the team is trained to be like, all right, well, there's 3 things I can do. I find the main that I can see coming out of the side of the house. I know where the valve box is. I can go shut it off there. I can like go down through 2 or 3 different things that I got to plug in the truck. Somebody's going to hold the end. We're going to plug this thing quick, whatever it might be. Like, coming to the table with solutions, not just problems. If you can train your team to do that, your team becomes much more successful and valuable overall. It's the same with sales. If they see the opportunities to do other things, like, you know what, boss, we just did the front of the house, but the back, the patio is full of weeds, and it wouldn't take much time for us to go back there and power wash that thing off and pull the weeds and resand it, whatever it might be, fill in the blank. What do you think we should do? The last thing you want your team to do is to just be good people and go back and do it and not tell Mrs. Jones. And the next thing you know, Mrs. Jones is like, oh, thank you for taking care of my patio. And you're thinking, great, it's another $500. And she's like, I didn't sign for that. Oh, great. Now, so my guys worked an extra few hours trying to do the right thing because they thought it would be a great way to build a relationship. And now all of a sudden you're stuck paying the guys, but getting no money on the front end, right? So it's like there needs to be a protocol. If that patio looks ratty in the back, it would be, all right, well, salesperson boss, like, look, here's 3 options we have to take care of that. Mrs. Jones, she mentioned it twice now as she walks in the front. This looks so nice. I wish the back looked this nice. Hey, salesman, like, why don't you reach out to her and talk to her about her back patio? Because right now, she's open to it. And this is the time. But if you didn't get that tip, if you will, from your field crew who are actively listening and connecting with her and talking to her each and every day as she brings them coffee or walks past them or drives a car in, you're not there to pick up on those things. If your team is not skilled and capable and trained to be able to do that, you're going to miss out on a lot of revenue. Holy moly. It's such a wealth of opportunity there, not to manipulate, but to serve, because really sales is what you do for your client, not to them. This is sales. This is listening for opportunities to make their lives better and serve them and offering them an invitation to this, not trying to sell them something. You're there. Why not try to invite them into more that would make their life even better and to make you, well, busier and make more money too? So win-win.
100%, man. And the process, having them just go through whatever your process is, that whatever works for your business, but, contacting you or the salesperson and not just going ahead and doing it. But there's opportunity there. And another opportunity in our management software, Synced Up, I'll throw them a plug. We have separate work areas. And when we present to a homeowner, sometimes they don't choose all the work areas. So if we're doing a patio and a retaining wall and a fire feature and low voltage lighting, it's going to be all separate work areas. And maybe they leave one off
Mhm.
for whatever reason, budget or whatever. They're like, well, maybe we'll do that later. And it's a story that Weston tells, and I got to give him props, that when he was a foreman with Tussey Landscaping, he would look at those work areas that were not chosen. And after being on the job for a while and building trust, he would just ask the homeowner straight up, hey, I see you didn't choose this work area. This would be really nice. What do you think? You think you might want to do it? And he said that he had such great success with that. I think he said he added like $300,000 to the bottom line one year,
Mhm.
just reselling those unselected work areas after being on the project and building trust. So, hey, if your team could do that, I mean, that's huge. That was no effort by the salesperson, no
That's right.
effort by the office staff, just unselected work areas that maybe
Uh-huh.
the homeowner was a little hesitant, but after meeting your team and seeing them every day and building that trust, ended up changing their mind, but only because they were asked.
Yeah. No, I love that, and I love that story too, because it's so, so, so true. When a customer is deciding whether they're gonna buy something, they're in a consideration phase, right? They're considering their options, they're considering the materials, they're considering contractors, they're considering if they even wanna do this. So, oftentimes in that mindset, they are in more of a, not I say scarcity, but they're trying to be frugal with that. Not everybody, but a lot of them, right? They're trying to be responsible is probably a better word, and make good decisions for the house, for the family, for their finances, for all of that. But once that consideration turns into commitment, once that shift has happened, when they sign the contract is typically when that threshold is breached. So when they sign that contract, it's like, all right, now we're committing to this project. Something shifts in their heart. Just like when you go out and look at cars, look at cars, look at cars, you're like, wow, these cars look really, really nice. And you're like, I don't know. My budget's really like 20 or 30,000 for this car, but I see this one here for 40. That is everything that I want. It's lower mileage. It's the color I want. I don't know. That's the consideration side. Eventually you sign in that $40,000 line and you're like, that's the one that I want. And all of a sudden you get that car and you're like, but you know what? If they would have offered me chrome magnum wheels or whatever, like some kind of upgrade, maybe it's something special for the car that you wanted. And you're like, yeah, it was like $5,000 more. And they would have done it then. After I've already committed, I would have said yes to that. But before, if you start throwing $5,000 options at them when they're still trying to consider if they're even going to work in this realm, if they're going to do this project, if they're going to work with you as a team, if they even like your design. So we got to be very careful, listeners, of what frame are they in? Are they in consideration or have they already committed? It's a very different mindset. So if they're committed and you ask them, do you want to add this? There's a higher probability the answer is going to be yes. Because they've already committed to, let's just say, $40,000 for this backyard. What's another couple of grand to get exactly what they want as it's coming to life? But to add that in early would have been irresponsible or too much for them to manage in their mind at one time. So there's an opportunity, guys. There's an opportunity to be able to serve. That's what we're doing here. We're not manipulating. We're not trying to drive the cost up. We're simply trying to upserve and cross-serve. That's what I like to call them, right? We're upserving the customer by offering things as they go along that's going to enhance the use and beauty of the space. And we're even offering things along the way that will help them get the most out of the space, even if it's a little bit different from the very beginning as an addition or to a new workspace or a workspace that was forgotten about, as John was talking about. We're here to serve. Just because they signed a contract does not mean that's the only thing they're willing to do. It just means it's the one thing they're willing to do. But they might be open. And the simple question of, you know what, you were talking about a fire pit on the patio. You took that out of the project. We're in the process of, building this thing. You sure you don't want to add that back in? I know that was really important to you when we went through our discovery process, and I know we pulled it out because of budget. But is there any chance you're reconsidering, or you absolutely don't want that fire pit? Let them make the decision. You'd be surprised how often after consideration is done and commitment is in place, how they find more money to do things that they truly want to do that they cut out in the beginning. Do you find that to be true too, John?
Yeah, I think some of it is a little bit fear. They're afraid of the commitment or the investment in the beginning. And then after they start to see what they're getting and all the work that's put into it and what a high quality product they're getting,
Mhm.
if your team is really doing a great job and killing it and being respectful and building that trust and you really wow them with what you're doing, that could get them to change their mind and decide, yeah, let's add the backyard, or let's add the
Mhm.
lighting or the fire feature or water feature, whatever it is that they cut out. They may just change their mind. And if you have your team in that sales mindset, that it's not just you or whoever the salesperson is, but everyone being in sales, everyone promoting your brand and your image and building trust and listening. It could be anyone. Could be your foreman. It could be anyone on your team to hear something or just mention it to the homeowner and
Yeah.
just add to your bottom line.
Yep. I'm sure the argument some listeners could have is, well, if they wanted it, they would just tell me, right? If there was 5 things in a proposal and they only chose 4 of them, well, then they would come to me and say they want to add the 5th back in. Why would I ask them that? I think that goes back to a fear of rejection or even a fear of being greedy. There could be that in there too. But let's be honest. Some people are on the fence. They have the money. They don't spend their last $5 on outdoor living, right? So they have the money. It's just a matter of whether they see the value in doing it now or if it's going to really enhance their life. But to your point, John, when you start seeing things transform in the backyard, just mentioning that back to them could leave them with like a, yeah, you know what? There might be a hole there if I don't do it now. Like there's something that's going to be missing. I'll spend all this money and I won't get truly what I wanted at the end because I was trying to be responsible in the beginning. So again, it's not manipulation. It's simply serving the customer in a way that they want to be served. Sometimes it's just the extra little push over the edge they need, and you know they're going to use the space more because that's exactly what they wanted it for. But they just couldn't pull the trigger on that one piece, but they found a way. And that's really what it's after. Like we're here to help them on that journey and we can both benefit. There's nothing wrong with both of us benefiting, the homeowner and the pro, to benefit from the situation. So any closing thoughts you have, John, as we wrap up here?
Yeah, it's all good stuff, and I've even had them tell me, like, the next day, like, if you offer or ask about something and don't get a yes right away, but then you get there the next morning and they look at you and they say, "Yeah, let's do it." So it's just a tremendous opportunity, and just let your field people know
Yeah.
to listen and pay attention for clues or mention things that they
Yep.
decided not to do that they might wanna add, and, you never know what might happen and how you might better be able to serve your clients and increase your bottom line.
100%. And empower your team. Because think about how proud they would be, how empowered they would feel if the project was a $20,000 project. And because they listened and they brought it to the salesperson that the client wanted to add something that added $5,000 or $10,000 to it, they're going to go home and be like, I was valuable today. Like I listened, I helped the company, they made more money. That's good. It's right back to Weston when he tells that story. And then I know eventually the owners were like, wait a minute here, like you're selling a lot out there, right? There's something to this. Like, wait a minute here, you're not just in the field now, you actually have more capability. And I love the story he tells about when he talked to Greg Woodstock and he's like, and when he asks about how he can make more money, he goes, well, how can you add more value?
Yes.
That was his
How can you be
question.
more valuable to the
Yep.
company
Yep.
and in turn then make more money, not
Yep.
just give me more money per hour for doing the same thing?
That's right. That's right. So how can you get your teams to try to add more value? Because when they add more value and they can bring in sales for you this way, to at least to the salesperson by hearing opportunities, they become more valuable. A company makes more money and you have the opportunity to pay them more. And then they don't leave. But it's a beautiful cycle of empowerment. But it first starts with the owner having the mindset that my team is is valuable enough to me that I'm willing to invest in them time and money to train them on how to do this. Because once you train them how to do that, they become these focused detail machines where they listen for this stuff, especially if they get a little piece of it. I mean, that's a possibility as well, right? You could set up some kind of deal where if like a finder's fee, if they come in with ideas that sell and they get a little chunk of it, think about how much their ears are going to be open. But it has to be done in a protocol. It has to be done in a step-by-step way that everybody on the team knows exactly how it happens and how it works and where it goes. And it can't be something that they shoot off the hip and it's different every time, or it will lose you money. Or it has a high probability of doing that. Because when you've got that chaos, we can't have that if you want consistent, predictable profitability. It must be in a predictable way. That's why the protocol works, right? So having a step-by-step process to do that, training your team on how to listen, how to be helpful, how to be valuable, how to be that sales advocate out there on the site could change the game. The question, listeners, for you is, how much longer are you willing to not have that be part of your business? How much longer are you willing to let those sales just slide through your fingertips because you can't be there for all those conversations? How much longer are you willing to let your team unempowered? Think about it. Guys, until next week, stew on those questions. And the answers to those questions could be the decision whether you actually thrive in the future or just hold on. To everyone, thanks, John, for this week. We'll talk next week.